that we used to promote records because we had a product to sell, right? And we would go out there and we would hit all the radio stations and do everything that you could, and to be able to get that song heard, or that record heard, and I felt like that was such a great time. But nowadays we don't have a product that we're actually selling. It's almost like you create this art and then you kind of push it off the bow of the ship into the ocean, and you hope that it gets on enough playlists and enough spots where people gravitate to it.
Yeah,
And
the product has changed from the art to the artist, I feel, nowadays. I think the product is the artist now, don't you?
yeah, I do. I feel that's a good way to put it. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of great young artists who are having success. I mean, major success that we couldn't even really dream about back then as Texas Red Dirt artists. And a lot of us have paved the way for these artists that are out there today, and I take great pride in that. And do I think the music is the same? Some of it is, some of it's not, but. Um, that's not the point of it. It's that the road was paved, and the success that's being had is part of all of us.
Yeah, and you've mentioned the two iconic Texas legends in Walt Wilkins and Radney Foster, and you've been just unbelievably blessed, I feel, in having records produced by both of those guys. What an incredible little trivia bit about Brandon Ryder. But what's it like working in the studio with such amazing icons? What's the experience like overall too for you in the studio?
I love the studio. I love the fact that we can come together, especially if we've been able to do some pre-production and get in there and really get specific about the ideals that we want for these songs. It was to work with Walt. First off, I had made two records before that. I had made Behind the Pine Curtain in '03. '01 was Because She Loves Me. Both of those records had given us a platform, so to speak, but had not really put us solidly on the map. Conviction was a record that I made and named it Conviction. A lot of people don't know this simply because I believed in all of the songs that were on that record, and it was my last ditch effort. That was my third record. If that had not worked out, then I probably would have fell back on my degree and went to work somewhere. So in '04, when I met Walt, we became friends quickly, and I knew that he was kind of coming back from Nashville at that time. He was ready to leave Nashville and get back to Texas. And that first year they came back, I mean, we did a lot of shows together, and that was a lot of fun. And also at the same time, it was a lot of learning going on because when you get to share the stage with someone like Walt, you he
Very
can embarrass
humbling.
you on stage.
Yeah, I imagine it's very humbling.
It's very humbling, and you learn that if you're going to be able to stay on that stage, then you have a lot of growth that needs to happen. So I think I took that time with Walt and was able to really hone in on my songwriting by paying attention to him and other people that he, obviously was in tune with and showed me. So that was really, it was a shocker when he told me he wanted to do my record. I didn't really see that one coming. In fact, he told my wife before he and I even talked about it. My wife told me, she said, "Hey, Walt told me tonight that he's going to produce your next record," and I was like, "Oh, he did. Awesome. Well, that's neat." And so I went to Walt and I was like, "I heard that you're going to produce my next record," and he said, "I am." And I said, "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get this going." And
Nice.
that's how that it really all kind of fell out. And then with Conviction, that and the way that we made that record, it was so organic. Um, I feel like Walt in his production, one of the things I love about it is he leaves a lot of space. He doesn't try to fill every nook and cranny with sound. He allows things to breathe. It's definitely not the then or now, the Nashville way
It's not at
of
all.
it.
Yeah.
And so it was really laid back, and it was easy going, and it was fun, and brand new. And the way that people received that record was, and still to this day, I mean, that record is the record that I will always be known for. And I think a lot of times what artists fail to appreciate, or say, gosh, I wish I could make that record over again. Well, you keep making records and you keep putting out good songs, but people's first impression of you is what they usually go back to when it comes to remembering you and the music that you bring to the table. Now, they might be able to spit off, five, six, seven, 10 more songs that you made from other records that they love, but that first record that really knocked them off their feet, that's the one that they go back to. And so that's where Walt, and I'll be indebted to him for the rest of my life, for giving me a career, giving me a foundation for a career. And then at that point, we came out with the live in '07, but then I got to work with Radney. And that was huge to me as well, because I remember my wife dropping me off at the airport in Austin, and I was going to get on a plane. And right before I got out of the car, I looked at her and I said, I'm going to go get on a plane. I'm going to fly to Nashville, and Radney Foster's going to be waiting on me. And he's going to pick me up.
Wow.
He's going to ride to his house and stay with his family at his place. I mean, for a young writer who's, this was huge. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
big dream come true. And then to write with Radney over time, and to get to know he and his family, Cindy and their kids, so well. And I stayed with them a lot. Would fly when I flew up to Nashville. And, there's something about being able to fly up and stay at, I mean, he's a Texas icon. He's, Del Rio, 1959. Good Lord. I mean, just call me lonesome. That was a fun time. But the studio, which was much different. It was more. I don't know if you could say seasoned, but more in the Nashville light. I felt like we really put that record together to see how far I could color outside of the lines, but still be close enough.
And this was the
Uh,
live record, right?
no, this was every night.
Okay, okay.
Every night that we did in 2008.
All right.
So, that let's don't go down this road. Have I waited too long? There were so many great, Old Red Door. A lot of great songs on that record that definitely continue to put us on the map. But I just felt like we approached that record with the idea that we were going to go up and down Music Row and see if there was any major label interest. And I was able to do that. I went up and down the road with my publisher at the time, and with Radney on one side as well. And I was told no, up and down Music Row. I didn't fit the box. I didn't fit the mold for that. But what an experience to be able to have as a young 20-something-year-old, to be able to be in these meetings with Joe Galante and other big names in the, you're kind of pinching yourself a lot. So two completely different approaches, but beautiful results as well.
I love your reaction to what some would call failure. I don't call that failure, but I mean, a lot of people
No.
would feel that way. So I love the way that you approach that. Hey, this is an experience that I can learn from. That could have killed a lot of people's careers, man. Like just having all of those no's all at once. But yeah, just an extremely successful record, both of them, and it's completely different styles and all of that, man. It's just such good stuff. I have both of those CD jackets up here too on my wall. So,
Thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, another thing that I know is really big in your life is family. You're a proud dad. You're a proud husband. Always have been. And I know as a full-time musician, especially as a touring musician, as you have been, and you still continue to perform live, a lot of shows every year. What's it like balancing the family and the musician life? And tell us a little more about your family, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So it was about 10 years ago, 2014. There was some things definitely going on in the background. It just wasn't that I sought a change, but I came home. I had been gone for close to 2 weeks, I would say. And I walked in, and my kids were just so completely different than they were before I left. And obviously, we talked on the phone every day and every night when I was gone. But um, it just was a point in time where it just kind of hit me right between the eyes of I'm going to miss this.
Mm-hmm.
I have already missed enough of their when they were small, and that was, and I have to give props to my wife too, Kelly, because that was, I mean, she was a single mom for a lot of that time. I was just popping in, taking clothes out of the bag, watching them, staying for a couple of days, and then hitting the road again. So in 2014, when I made that decision to stay around a little bit more, that was the best decision I could have ever made. I There were things that happened to me throughout my 40s that were life, that were not maybe some of the greatest things that could have helped and developed my career. And you can take those on one side of the coin, but if I flip the coin over and I talk about all the time and that I got to spend with my kids, I got to be a part of their everyday lives. For the last, I don't know how many years, it's been volleyball and football and baseball and band and all of those things. And in a way, we're coming to the end of that right now. Dusty's 18, and he's in college, a freshman in college. I'm grateful that he decided he wanted to stay home this year and go to Temple College and stay local. That way he could be home. I wasn't ready for him to leave home yet. My daughter is 16, Mahala. She's a junior in high school, but she's going to graduate this year as a junior
Wow.
and start college in the fall of next year. She, at this time, wants to be a physical therapist, and so we'll start down that road. And my only thing for her, I said, was, I don't mind if you graduate early if that's what you really want to do, but there are two stipulations, and one of those is you're not leaving home. I'm not sending my daughter to college at 16 years old. It's just not going to happen. And so he's going to be able to be home for at least another couple of years before she'll head out. And so, the football days, the baseball days, the volleyball days, all of those things are coming to a close. And um, if I could really pack all of it into those 10 years, I would be grateful just to have to have been present for all of
Yeah.
those
An
and
empty
to have
nest is
not missed.
so weird, man. As someone who's all my kids are grown, empty nest is so weird. You feel so um, accomplished that you were able to get these little humans from the age of birth to full adulthood, and so you feel so accomplished that there's nobody in the house anymore because you did that as a parent. That's an accomplishment. But then you look around and it's so quiet, and all those experiences are gone now. So as accomplished as you feel, it's so bittersweet. Um,
It is. It is. I've always said that I've enjoyed every stage of life that they've been through, and I've enjoyed the growth that I've watched my kids have. I know that Kelly and I have done a good job in raising them, and I feel confident that they're going to be successful in whatever roads they take and what they do. And I just want them to, know that I am always here for them, and through it all, through the good times and the bad. They've seen me in some low spots and seen me in some great high spots as well. So I think that is what it's like to be a parent, and to just have an open dialogue, a really open dialogue, where the communication levels are not mistaken. And I
mhm.
think that's just a beautiful thing. And I feel like um, even with that kind of coming to a close and looking more at the empty nest that is awaiting us, it's also been an opportunity to reconnect with my wife, for us to get to know each other again. We've been on more dates in this last few months than we were able to have in years, and it's almost like you sit down across from each other and you're like, "Hey, how have you been? How are you doing? What are you working on right now?" And you reconnect and you catch up, and hopefully you fall in love again,
Mm.
all over again. So, gosh, man, we
Well,
just
judging
have
by
to
the
say,
smile on your face, I can tell that that is happening. So,
yeah.
congratulations on that, man.
Well, I think we have to take, the years, and as they gather steam, we have to be able to both look back and appreciate and take those lessons that we learned as well, those hard times, and then also realize. I think at 50, I've realized, that life is much shorter than I anticipated, and we're not definitely guaranteed another day or another breath. And so, I feel like at this point, I don't take my days or my breath for granted.
I'm the same way, man. I feel like the older that I get, the more mortality is just slamming its fist into my cheek over and over again, man. It's more present, and I'll tell you what, man. I get so triggered sometime when my time is wasted because than I did when I was younger. Just doing something a second time, I get like, oh, I don't want to do that again. I could be doing something else. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. I feel you. I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
The pain is real.
Yep.